Hi, this is Ewan Harriet from Dal Segno Studios in Abbotsford in Richmond, and I thought today we'd talk about why people don't use double stroke rolls around their drum kit so much, and I think it's because they can't. It's the technique that they're using. And when you do your double stroke practice, you usually do it on a snare drum or a rubber pad, and those things give you a lot of bounce. So what people generally do is they throw their stick at the drum to get a bigger bounce, and to get the second bounce of the double stroke roll. And that works really good on something that has a lot of rebound, like your snare drum or your practice pad, but it doesn't work so well on your tom-toms, especially big drums like your floor toms. So I can do it, and I need to pull it back on my fingers a little bit to get that second bounce, but you can hear that it's a lot weaker than the first one. So what I'd like to show you is a technique where you actually need to use your fingers and get the accent on the second bounce, not the first one, which, if you can perfect that, you'll be able to do double strokes on pretty much any surface, whether it has a bounce or not. Like that. Alright, so the first double stroke technique that I showed you before, or I was talking about before, is getting a lot of bounce. And that's because I'm really throwing the drumstick down. But what I need to do is I need to pull up on it. And that requires a hand motion that is one wrist down, but two bounces. And if you have a look at my last three fingers here, I'm really flicking that second one back up. One wrist movement down, and two bounces. The first bounce, my wrist goes down, and the stick comes up. My hand opens up, but my fingers are still on the stick. They need to be on the stick so that I can flick it back to my starting position where my wrist is up and my fingers are closed. That is what I call a snappy second. The second bounce is much more powerful than the first. Now, the thing you've got to watch the most is if you're in the starting position and your hand is open, you're not going to be able to do that stroke. The hand's open like this for most people because they're flicking down to get the bounce. But if your hand is open here, it's going to be closed there, and the stick's not going to be able to bounce to the point where you can get your fingers to stick it closed. If your hand is closed here, it'll be open there, and then you can flick back. You want to try and minimize the amount of wrist and finger movement and be as efficient as possible. Okay, now when you're actually going to be using this or trying to apply it in your playing, the most important thing for any type of playing is where is your pulse. You have to have your pulse, not just for yourself, but for everyone who's hearing it. Otherwise, how will they know what subdivision you're playing or where the time is? But that creates a problem if you're going to do snappy seconds, because the second bounce is more accented. It's not going to be in sync with your pulse. Like that. So you're going to need to alter your double stroke roll just a little bit to sync your accent with your pulse. And you simply do that. Instead of going into a double stroke roll and the first hit being a double stroke, just make it a single stroke, then do all doubles, and your accent will be on your pulse. Okay, so the other offshoot or the icing on the cake of all of this is that it has a subtle effect on the phrasing of your double stroke roll as well. So here's just your straight double stroke without the single stroke at the start. And here is the phrasing of a snappy second double stroke. So you can hear there's a subtle difference in the phrasing or the way the roll sounds when you spread it across the voices of your drum kit. That's a snappy second, and hopefully if you can put that together, you'll start seeing more people doing double strokes on their tongues.